Hello, everyone, and welcome to your horoscope for the week of October the 16th to 22nd, 2023. We have quite an intense week ahead of us, but I do believe that this comes as no surprise because we are in a period between two eclipses, one that just unfolded, and we can see how tragically it played out on the world stage. But of course, this wasn't really a massive surprise because me and many other astrologers months ago and even a year ago, when we spoke about the nodes of the moon shifting into the Aries and Libra axis, where the north node is in the sign of Aries. And this is when its conjunction to planetoid Eris, goddess of rebellion and discord, is very exact, very tight. And also the south node, the collective past that has to be released in the sign of Libra, was triggered by before the eclipse Mars and the eclipse, and it's going to be triggered by Mercury and much later on Venus and so on. So of course this is a very tensioned energy. Now I would just like to speak a couple of words about the astrology of the conflict in the Middle East, and of course my heart goes out for everyone affected by it. But we have the south node in the sign of Libra. As I said in previous horoscopes, Libra, collectively speaking, is the diplomatic relationship between nations, countries, big, even organizations. So it is basically the balance of the relationship between the two. Libra also rules enemies, declared enemies. That's also a certain kind of relationship. So when the south node is triggered, now of course, without a shadow of a doubt, everything karmically speaking and historically speaking that is there built up is going to be exposed, highlighted, triggered. The eclipse held a quincunx with Uranus. So Uranus is the planet of rebellion, spontaneous, quick action, and we could see that play out on the world stage. Mars entered its ancient ruling sign of Scorpio. It has great intensity, and as I said in previous horoscopes, it means business. It doesn't care who and what it has to walk across to get to its goal. It will take action, and it is resilient. It is very different than in the sign of Aries, where it needs a good initiation and an impulse. In the sign of Scorpio, everything that was like a frustration, for example, that was lingering there acts like a fuel. And if the more fuel there is, the more the intensity will continue. So this played out very clearly on the world stage. And also, this is where Libra rules certain agreements, big international pacts, agreements, almost like contracts where certain countries, certain nations swore that in this case and that case, they're going to be respecting the agreement. Now, the South Node also triggers that international power players are not respecting, because of course the agreement was of the past. It is dissolving and a new one has to basically take its place. And then the new moon aspect of the eclipse. The new moon brings something, as its name says, new to the table. So we can see the new diplomatic alliances and relationships forming, squared by Pluto, as corrupt or maybe even corrupt than they were before. And also an aspect. Now we can say that the new moon / eclipse held a very loose, quincunx with Neptune. So of course, many things are just, how should I say, smoke and mirrors. They are presented to us in a certain way for us psychologically or by heart or by morality to take certain sides. but probably the truth is that there is no truth, that everything basically is a deception. Not necessarily the destruction, the war, the suffering, the conflict, but how it's presented to us, the legal side of it, the moral side of it, the I don't even know the word to use, the ethical side. No, that is where most probably it's like a big deception, because Neptune going retrograde in the sign of Pisces represents exactly that, and collectively it's the collective deception. This is also, we must not forget, a very, very strong and dirty psychological warfare. So, with this being said, I would just like to take again a small moment to wish a very, very happy birthday solar return to Raul and also Bobby. I'm wishing you guys a blessed day. I hope that all your hopes and dreams come true, and may you have a really wonderful time with your loved ones. Now, after this being said, I'm going to share my screen with you. So let us walk through the energies of next week, as I said, which are just as intense, or better said, the intensity continues because we are in a period between two eclipses. That's like being between the anvil and the hammer. It's really, really not easy. But of course, there is also aspects of hope and beauty in the sky, which weren't there before. So that gives all of us, sorry, a sense of respite. So at the very beginning of the week, we can see the sun perfecting the quincunx with Uranus. Again, this is the unexpected turn of events, unexpected alliances, and Uranus is also the planet of technology. So surprising technology that can change the situation one way or another. And also Sun quincunx Uranus in the sign of Libra, where Mercury is very, very close in the area. This can also represent unexpected talks, negotiation, and unusual alliances are going to be formed. Some of them very short term, while others might be quite a long term. And also at the beginning of the week, we have with us certain positive aspects that do hold hope there, where on one hand, Mars is still holding a sextile with Venus, even though the sextile is very, very wide because Venus advanced into the sign of Virgo. And Venus advancing into the sign of Virgo is also good news because her opposition with Saturn is no longer, let's say, operational. Of course, Black Moon Lilith's opposition to Saturn is still operational, but that is basically a constant energy of reality check, where Black Moon Lilith is not allowing us to delve into the Piscean type of delusion or false hope, or where we amplify our hope so much that it's totally unrealistic. So basically, I actually love Black Moon Lilith opposing Saturn because it prevents us from, for example, making moves which are rooted only in illusion or wishful thinking, or have nothing realistic attached to it. It may not be an easy energy. It may be a little bit painful. It may be disillusioning, or with Black Moon Lilith and Virgo, it may cause a serious set of negative thinking, but that negative thinking comes as a retaliation to unrealistic, hopeful thinking, wishful thinking, if that makes sense. But we must not forget that ultimately Saturn in the sign of Pisces offers us a certain sense of realism, even within the spiritual, even within the most subjective elements in our life, like soul, inner world, psyche, etc. Saturn at least he tries very, very strongly to keep us in a sense of realism. To Pisces is a very dual sign. You know, Pisces is, as I said, the two extremes. It can be big hope to the degree of sheer fantasy, and it can also be pessimism and self-victimization. Now, these two are opposite, they're pulling in opposite, sides. So Saturn acts like a stabilizing factor. Now, of course, Saturn doesn't have a very easy job in the sign of Pisces because Pisces dissolves the limits and even the common sense of Saturn. But ultimately, these two energies are trying to stabilize one another. It is as stable as it can get, where if we, try to embrace the middle path or try our very best to stay in a certain kind of equilibrium, that's when we actually work very well with this energy. We give it a healthy power because we discard way too wishful thinking. We just say, well, if it is supposed to be real, then I'll just allow myself to be surprised when it does. And the other side of the pessimism, this is where it cannot be as dark and as bad because my hands, even if they seem tied, they're not tied because I have inner power, mind over matter. I have something in my life to give me some kind of power. So this is where the truth usually is between the two. So Black Moon Lilith is actually quite helpful because she doesn't allow us to, how should I say, end up in both sides of the extremes. But another energy which is still operational and represents the saving grace, Mars trine Saturn. Mars trine Saturn represents that there is something stable within our lives, exactly as I said. In a certain area or in a certain way, our hands are actually not tied. We do have some kind of power, even if the big picture suggests that we are kind of powerless at the present moment. And of course, that may absolutely be true. Pluto squaring the nodes of the moon and everything conjunct the nodes of the moon. So, of course, that makes us feel powerless. That makes us feel want to take back our power, but that's not easy. You know what I mean? Yet still, fortunately, this Mars trine Saturn illuminates, highlights where it is that we do have power. Because as I said, Mars in the sign of Scorpio has a great intensity. It is symbolically the treasure seeker, where if it knows there is a treasure buried somewhere, it will not relent until it finds it. It doesn't matter what it takes. Even if it has to bulldoze everything, it still finds the treasure. The darkest expression is that it will walk through corpses and everything that it has to get its will. Saturn trine Saturn, well, Saturn is the structure, the foundation, the manifester, basically. So this is where we might not have to walk over corpses and other people because Saturn will give us something solid, concrete to work with. And also Saturn in the sign of Pisces, morality, karma, divine justice. There are certain things that we cannot, how should I say, ignore. Certain things rooted in, as I said earlier, morality, divine justice, spiritual principle, even religious principle that does hold a saving grace. As I said, if Mars would like to walk through corpses or anything to get where it wants, Saturn also, in a trine, it's harmonious, stops it before it can. it will offer either an alternative or other means. So this is a really, really good energy while it lasts, because it won't last for that much longer, sadly. Now let's move on. We are on the 17th, and as you can see, this is where Mercury holds the in conjunction, the quincunx, with Uranus. So again, communication. Whatever is highlighted in the news, because Mercury also represents, collectively speaking, mass media, everything that is shared on the internet, TV, news channels, whatever. So there is shocking and surprising information and communication. And, this is, of course, to be expected. But at the same time, this can also represent that the new technology shows itself. And last but not least, if I think about it deeper, this can also represent negotiation, talks, discussions. There is no guarantee that they will be successful or lead anywhere, but they might still be held. Now on the 18th, we have the Sun conjunct the South Node, which means the Sun opposes the North Node, conjunct planetoid Aries. And I'll just show you Aries. You see, this is where Aries is, conjunct the North Node. Now I'll go back to... Now that's very, very important, because Mercury, planet of communication, not exactly to the degree, but it's still conjunct both the Sun and the South Node. So the Sun and South Node, the light of our consciousness, light is being shed on something, and that is being communicated as well. So this is a very, very important moment when we understand something. Now, collectively speaking, you can very well imagine that this might be a moment when someone intervenes in the conflict, or when something is being revealed that changes the picture. But when I say revealed, we may not be able to trust the news and communication. Why? All of these planets hold in conjunction, quincunx with Neptune. So again, what is true, what is not true? Half truth, truth that is deceptive, because this reminds me of Solomonic magic, evocational magic, when they evoke demonic entities, etc. And King Solomon, had to compel the demonic entity to speak the truth. And the demonic entity did speak the truth, and the truth was still deceiving. Because how did it present? How did it charge the truth? You know what I mean? Like one example is where one of the seven sisters of Pleiades said to King Solomon that, well, your reign is gonna fall. It's gonna end up in rubble. But she said it in such a way where King Solomon, pride and ego, thought that he could, because he knows this, he could bypass it. So he was still deceived with the truth. This is exactly the energy of that. Now, in our personal lives, this might be totally different, because, again, the eclipse may represent in our personal lives relationship, contract, one-on-one alliance, love story, etc. So the Sun conjunct the South Node, we are seeing the truth of something, but we may not necessarily know what to do with it yet. Why? Because Uranus, quincunx, all of this, the grouping of these planets, even though the South Node is not a planet. So Uranus, quincunxes, Mercury, Sun, and South Node. So this represents that something is shocking, something is urgent. There might be a certain kind of anxiety within us, that we may feel that we need to make a decision now or very quickly, or something, a communication, or something about our financial situation, our self-worth, our whatever we desire comes into focus and confuses us or prevents us from making a decision there and then. Yet, the Sun and Mercury together with the South Node, we do seek the truth. We do want to make a right decision, a right choice, but this Neptune might not allow us yet. And this is where it's not that we don't see the truth, technically speaking. Let me give you an example. A contract, it may be very, very, very clear to you, the terms and conditions, the small print, even if you look into the future through your own Uranus, through your own anticipation skills, your mental scenarios, what is available to me in the future, all of that might be very, very correct and precise. Just that Neptune gives the feeling of it. You're not sure, you're not certain. You might have this feeling that there is something else that still needs to play out until you are in the position to make the decision, choice, sign the contract, say yes or no, break up, go forward with the divorce papers, etc. So this Neptune is confusing us. This Neptune is causing our inner world not to give the green lights for us to go forward. So we might be feeling a bit confused, yet sometimes the confusion itself is the devil, in the sense that we might not really be confused at all, just that we don't like the truth. We don't really like what we see. We don't really like what we have in our lives. And that tricks us. Our inner being, our unconscious tricks us because it doesn't like the truth. Yet that doesn't change the truth. And let me give you an example. Negotiations, talks, and someone has a certain date. You are going to start this job, this contract, the divorce, the court ruling in December, let's say. And that sheer knowledge exasperates the person. I cannot wait till December. I'll go Neptune psychologically or feeling wise crazy until December. I want it. I need it right now. I cannot wait. That December, that date, this is just an example, of course, might be a saving grace, a solution. It might be perfect, the truth of the situation. But the waiting game, what happens until December, how will one cope until December, that might be the bad news. That might be where this Neptune plays tricks on us. And what trick can this Neptune play? Will there be a miracle until December which makes the situation go forward very quickly, or anything of such? And even if there might be a miracle, miracles, don't announce themselves. Miracles are usually surprise from the divine. So anything is really just wishful thinking. But the most important part is that we do have, Mercury, Sun conjunct the South Node. We do have the details. We do have the technical clarity. And also Venus in the sign of Virgo is very, very important, because whatever is in our lives or whatever we are going towards, it needs to be concrete. It needs to be truly, physically, earthly, rationally, down to earth, helpful. This is where we're not navigating in some kind of hope that has no concrete element to it. This is where everything has to be helpful, useful in a real, proper sense. You know what I mean? But this 18th is a really, really big day, because this is when clarity truly reaches us, but also when our inner being would like to contest that clarity. So, but understanding wise, it's quite important. And the Sun opposes the North Node and Aries. So we know what might hinder our path forward. Because the North Node is also very important. North Node and Aries, how do we accomplish that what we need? Aries, our initiation. Aries, our sovereignty. Aries, everything that represents the new beginning or the foundations of our happiness in the future. And how do we accomplish that? How do we get there? So this is like a big reality check, because even everything that hinders us, South Node, the past, everything that is like a blockage in our lives, that is crystal clear. We may not have everything that we need to take action yet, but at least we see the technicality of all in a clear light, so to speak. So moving on the 19th, we have Mercury conjunct you might not see it exactly on my screen, but Mercury is conjunct I just want to move it backwards a bit. So here we go. Here you can see 24-degree Mercury, 24-degree South Node. So Mercury conjunct the South Node. This is like just what was a day before on the 18th, the clarity, us figuring it out. Very, very important talks, discussions, negotiations built on that South Node, the past. Sorry. So in our lives, this can be a very important talk with a business partner, an alliance, an ally, an associate, with our partners, divorce talks, job interviews, anything like that. So communication is unfolding. We might not settle it yet, settle the deal, settle the divorce, settle whatever this energy of alliance, truth, and justice is, but at least we are in the clarity. And then a day after, oh, and before I don't forget, these planets hold in conjunction with Neptune. So we might need to take this into consideration, that something within our inner being will block us, or will, there is something that Pisces and Libra have in common. Even though a quincunx links together two signs which usually have nothing together, nothing in common with each other. And that is non-confrontation. I don't want to say cowardice, but this is where neither of these signs want confrontation. That's the very, very last option. So this is where Neptune might make us feel very, very unsure. But something deep inside us will definitely tell us that we see it clearly, we see it precisely as it is. So anyway, in this case, the mental sphere is more important, because Mercury sees things clearly at this time. Why? Because the day after, on the 20th, we have the conjunction, the cazimi of Sun and Mercury. Now, this isn't all that special, because this aspect takes place several times every year, but this is where it's after the eclipse. They're still conjunct the South Node. They're opposing Aries. So it's very, very important, because this is where we actually get into a certain kind of decision-making process. This is where whatever technicality, details, communication, feedback from others, feedback from authority, courts of justice, another person, ally, associate, how the job interview went, we have a pretty good picture. We are ready to make a decision. That decision probably isn't gonna be made yet, but for clarity purposes and what happens next, This is very, very important. Now, another importance here is a spiritual one, because this conjunction opposes White Moon Selena. White Moon Selena is almost like the opposite of Black Moon Lilith. It is our soul's highest aspiration, and where we process reality and everything in it through the most, how should I say, most elevated, highest lens that is possible. And this is where it's about our hopes and dreams, our progress forward, everything that we need to do, because this White Moon Selena is conjunct the North Node in the sign of Aries. So it's very, very, very individualistic and self-oriented. So we know what we need to do for the self, and the opposition means very, very difficult communication that we have to execute, so to speak, a decision that we need to communicate. So this is where we are ready to embrace the hardships. We are ready to face the hardships. This is like a big moment of courage. As I said, Libra and Pisces are very non-confrontational, but this is where the North Node, Aries, and White Moon Selena together, they give us the courage, they give us the strength to embrace the term inner determination and do what needs to be done. And you see, this is where we have 3 planets together as well. Planets, the South Node, which isn't a planet, Sun and Mercury together, where the opposite end in Aries, we have White Moon Selena, North Node, and planetoid Aries together. So 3 versus 3, so to speak. And of course, with any opposition, the middle path, the compromise, us embracing a very, very balanced mindset is the solution to this. So no, communication, speaking our truth is going to go hand in hand with this. And now the cherry on top is that these 3 power players and these 3 power players are T-squaring Pluto. So this is not very easy. This is not an easy energy. Sorry, and Pluto sextiles Neptune. So this means that if we face the challenge, if we are brave, if we do not for a second let go of the truth. And what is the truth? The truth is two-sided. This is the North Node and Aries truth. Everything that we really need. Our being, individually speaking, needs certain things in life, and we cannot let go of that. We cannot let go of our needs and where we need to go in life. But then again, we cannot let go either of the truth in our alliances, relationship, partnerships, everything that we have in our lives. And for many people, this can be relation to society, relation to a country, relation to the world, generally speaking. So these 2 elements meet in an opposition. So Pluto challenges us to make sure that we are balanced, to make sure that it is us personally, that White Moon Selena, the higher octave of our soul, the truth of the past, South Node conjunct the Sun and Mercury, which isn't going, the past is not going to be changed. The past is fixed. The truth, the wisdom, Palestina is also in Libra, the wisdom of the past is harvested. And these 2 are weighed. And the result of the weighing is exactly our rightful position, and that we do something without it. We get back our power, regardless of who we gave it to. And with that power, we make very, very brave choices. We make very, very brave moves. As I said, depending on where this nodal axis falls in our individual charts, because it is that area of life which is under the spotlight, which is in the pressure cooker. So this Pluto is challenging us to really stay in our truth, to stay in our balance, to stay in our power and not let go. And we must not forget that this Pluto is different, because Pluto did square the nodes of the moon, of course, ever since July. But this is where Pluto is direct now. So it really means business. And it is in the sign of Capricorn in this way for the last time. And even more, the eclipse, so the new moon at 21 degrees of the sign of Libra, it did square the point in the sky where Pluto and Saturn met on the 12th of January 2020. So again, what was the big lesson and change and transformation in our lives started in 2020? Because that meeting of Saturn and Pluto took place in our individual lives as well. How did it change our lives? How did it change our worldview? How did it change our faith and basically everything? Because that eclipse is also built on that, individually speaking. So a lot of delicate but very important choices and decisions or talks or negotiation await all of us this week. And moving on, the 21st is important because, no, sorry. What am I doing here? Sorry. So the 21st. So the 21st is very important on one hand because you can't see it here yet, but the move will progress and meet Pluto in the sky. So this will be the moment when we really feel this T-square between Pluto, the nodes, and the other planets conjuncting the nodes. We will really feel the importance, the intensity, and for some people, this might be a moment of courage when we say something, we do something, we take some kind of action, or very important communication reaches us because Mercury will be at Anaretic Libra. So what needs to be said will be said. And also, I have to show you the asteroids for this. You see, Black Moon Lilith meets Juno, asteroid of partnerships in the sky, and they oppose Saturn. So very big talks and alliances, partnerships, not necessarily conflictual, because there are many people who have a very stable partnership, but Saturn may represent a limitation. A big and important talk, what it is that we do together to bypass or overcome limitations in our lives. This is where partners really need to ally themselves spiritually, in heart, in spirit. We're doing this together. We are pushing through together. Partners motivating each other. You know, this is where this is a very hard and difficult moment in everyone's life. So there are moments when one partner is strong and the other one has a small fall, so to speak, psychologically. So the strong partner is the parent. The strong partner is, you know, keeping the spirits up. But then comes the opposite, where the strong partner falls. But the weaker partner is the strong partner now. So the roles change. So long story short, this is where partners really have to support one another psychologically or in any way it's needed. And finally, the 22nd. So this is the birthday of Raul and Bobby. But besides that, this is where the cherry on top is coming. Venus holding a conversation of supreme harmony with Jupiter. And this is a saving grace for a number of different reasons. Well, on one hand, is that Jupiter is in Venus's home sign of Taurus. And the other thing is that both of these planets are benefics, bestower of blessings, according to the ancients. Jupiter is the big benefic and Venus is the lower one, the smaller one. So whenever these two planets meet in a conversation of harmony, that means a blessing. Now, they're also in earth signs. So that means something practical, something which is perceived as a true blessing, either through our five senses or through money, worth, etc., etc. And again, I have to highlight Venus in Virgo has the practicality to it. So this is where Venus in Virgo does not fall for beautiful words, promises, anything spiritual, anything just coming from the soul. No, 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 no. She needs something that is applicable. You know, let me give you an example. So for Venus and Virgo, I love you means very little. But I love you attached to, I don't want to say money, but a card, let's say. A beautiful card that you handmade and you spent a lot of time beautifying it, that works for Venus in Virgo. That is very okay. So trine with Jupiter, either a promise is fulfilled, either something that was just wishful thinking until this present moment is manifesting, a gesture of generosity, a donation, a gift, a present, something corporal, physical, because Taurus is all about the physical body as well. So sensuality expressed in all the right way, kiss, embrace, the light of the five senses, love story, why not, but one which is earthly. So the partner doesn't just come with romance. The partner or the future partner or the one who is courting comes with something practical, like a help, like a house, like why not a bank account. Of course, I'm joking, but this can, with Earth trine, with the two benefics, it can very, very well be the case. But it can play out in another way where your values, Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, everything that makes you valuable, sorry, as a professional, as whatever, well, it gets the deal. Your value shines and you get the job, you get the contract, you get the boyfriend, girlfriend, you get something. So this is the saving grace, because regardless of what complications the Libra Aries axis and the square to Pluto are filling our lives up with, oh, sorry, I do believe that the conjunction of Pluto and the moon is on the 22nd, not on the 21st. So I'm really sorry about that. So again, the Pluto conjunct moon emotional intensity completes the T-square, Pluto and the nodes T-square. But this can be actually a positive energy because it can be something beautiful that shocks us and gives us the feeling that we have power. Maybe not power where we need it desperately, but alternative power is just as good, because there's something beautiful entering our lives due to this trine. And as I said earlier, it's something real, something concrete, something earthly. And another energy which I find really positive is that Mercury, let me show you. On the 22nd, finally, leaves the sign of Libra and enters into the sign of Scorpio. Mercury in the sign of Scorpio is like proper cerebral energy where it digs, it investigates, it brainstorms. Mercury is together with Mars here. So again, using our intelligence to get where we want, to get what we need, the treasure seeker energy. This is where a project, a plan works, is executable. So we're getting there. You know what I mean? And Mercury in the sign of Scorpio is negotiation, but negotiation which is not, very light. It is heavy, it is intense. Needless to say, this will play out on the world stage as well. Very, very, very strong negotiation. The sun is an erratic Libra, so at 20, almost at 29 degrees of Libra. So that highlights the shadow expression of Libra. So, either negotiations, peace talks can be done with a great sense of urgency. This is where, let me give you an example. Both of the sides who are in conflict, due to a third force, have no choice but to come up with peace. War or continuing the conflict might not be an option. An erratic sun in Libra. Peace is, like mandatory. It doesn't matter how you do it, but peace has to be the outcome. But this is just an example. So don't take it as a prediction. This is a possibility. But in our individual lives, this can actually be a possibility. For example, at a divorce, court ruling, negotiation between the two parties, the energetic sun in Libra, the court of justice finds the middle path when the two parties can. And it is what it is. It's peace. You know what I mean? But Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, I do believe this is a really good energy because it's a truth seeker energy. It reveals that which is hidden. It's like a profiler. You know what I mean? It takes into account everything, all the details, all the clues. So it's really good for getting to the bottom of things. And Mercury will meet Mars at one point in the sign of Libra. So the results of investigations will lead to somewhere. They are going to have like concrete effects. But still, the highlight and the saving grace is Venus trine Jupiter and Mercury trine Saturn. Because that is also very important. As I said, Mars trining Saturn at the beginning of the week and last week, that gives us some, even if it's not ideal, something to work with. Mercury trine Saturn, our negotiations, our talks, our truth, our practicality goes somewhere, solid, Saturn. And then the sun follows this Mercury because the sun will also trine Saturn when it will move into the sign of Scorpio. So this is the saving grace in my opinion. So thank you everyone for listening. I do hope that this was helpful. If you'd like my work, please like and share. And you can donate in the PayPal link in the description below if you'd like to support me. I'm wishing everyone a really brave week because we do need to embody, as I said, our courage, our bravery, our stability, not give into illusion, not give into delusion, not give into pessimism, not give into unrealistic wishful thinking either. We really need to hold the balance this week. It will be very important in basically everything that we do. Thank you again. Until next time. Bye for now.